Alright, we're going to try and make the second video on how to use the spreadsheet. The first video should have kind of explained the site and what we're trying to do. So again, all you're going to do is go to Pass Hunt Data. Click on that, and the internet's going real slow. It'll actually bring up this web page. I explained before, this is live. When I change the spreadsheet, it does change on here, but it's not searchable, and that's not something I can change right now, just how it is on this website and on this host. And it does say in its example, it is an example, and I'll leave that up there for a while so people can play with it. All you're going to do is click on here, um, and it's going to bring up this spreadsheet, which is kind of the meats and potatoes and kind of what's cool about it. And so we've got zip code, date, name, location, stand. I mean, if you didn't watch the first video, like I said, the name, location, and stand can be as secretive and private as you want it. Just ask you that you keep them the same. Make sure if you call the location this, the one time you keep calling it that for that farm, or ranch or WMA or whatever it is. And the same thing with the stands. And I mean, these can all just be numbers. The name is the first one, so the name is the one that you really need to be different with and make sure nobody's going to have the same name. The location in the stand does not, because I mean, once you have an original name, this can be low. If you got 3 different places to hunt, this can be location 1. You could have location 2 and 3, and then you could have stand 1 through whatever it does, or use your nicknames. Some of you will know what some of this means. All this data in here is fake. Just so we kind of have a little bit of stuff to play with. So on the form, we have sightings and kills. I ask you kind of to break it down, if you will. Then I'll put it in these blocks, and so we'll have a doe, buck, and a total. Just because I realized when I put this in here, this really isn't searchable or filterable. And then the rest of what we got is all imported from Weather Underground. And there's about as many data points as weather for the most part, as you could imagine. I know some people are in the moon phase. It's not on there. I'll see what I can do if there is some interest in that, especially if people started submitting rutting activity. I know a lot of people like to draw that correlation. It might be interesting to see. So there should be enough on there to kind of get an idea of what we're trying to do. And in my mind, when I started doing this, there was kind of 2 very specific scenarios that came up. One that I run into every year is that I only have so many mornings that you can hunt, and I've got an offer to go duck hunting, or maybe I can duck hunt at my place, or I can deer hunt. And if it's the night before, you know what the weather is going to be for the most part. It's not going to change a whole lot. Maybe it rains a little bit more than it was supposed to. But you're trying to decide whether you should duck hunt or deer hunt. We're going to have 2 different sheets. I have not put anything on the duck hunting sheet for the most part. I think I might have made some stuff up, but you can look at that if you want. We'll go back to the deer hunting. And so, I mean, maybe what you would do is you put in the county, or maybe you would put in your farm and kind of filter the weather and then see if the deer moved that much that day. And then go to ducks and see if anybody killed many ducks that day, depending on the conditions you put on there, which could be the temperature, it could be precipitation, which is over there. You could filter in kind of the time of year. You could just go by zip code. You could go by your specific hunting place, farm, ranch, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to kind of show you how to do that. And then the other real obvious one is, what stand do I hunt? I mean, I'm very fortunate that we see quite a few deer at most of our stands, but it does seem like some are better in the evening, some are better in the morning, some are better under different conditions, and that'll be very easy to do also. Um, and then hopefully you'll be able to draw some conclusions. I know one question that I've always wondered is at what point is it too cold that the deer just aren't going to move? I mean, I would guess. I mean, at our place, it's probably in the high 20s or somewhere around there, that the deer just kind of shut down and don't move till later on in that day, and you might be able to see that there. So I'm kind of going to show you how to go through some stuff like that and filter all this data. Um, Sometimes you don't have to do this. What I always do is click this box right here, this top left box, and it just highlights the whole dang sheet. And then you're going to go to data, click on data, come on down this box to filter views, and go over from filter views and go to create new filter view. That's all you got to remember is data, filter views, and create new filter view. When you do that, um, It'll show you here in just a second. My internet's going kind of slow. All this stuff's going to turn black. This doesn't do anything permanent, but it lets you filter everything. And you should have drop-down boxes below everything that's on here. If you don't, kind of go back. You can exit out. Anytime you want to start a new filter, you just exit out by clicking this X. Make sure you clicked up here and highlighted everything. So for instance, and like I said, you're not going to be able to draw any correlations from here because this is all fake data and there's not a whole lot on there, especially the temperatures and everything is just going to, well, the temperatures aren't made up, but everything else is. But let's say you want to look through just 75803. There's only 2 zip codes in here right now. Since there's only 2 zip codes, you've got 2 options, filter by condition and filter by values. Values is just going to show you every value that's in this column. There's only 3, really 2, but that's easy to click and just say, I just want to keep. So the check mark, you keep it. I just want to keep 7503. So that's probably the fastest way to do that. And then you'll click OK. It'll catch up here in a second. And what it did was filter out all the 75801s, which will be helpful once you get more zip codes on there, obviously. But now let's say I just want to see, what the temperature was when I saw more than 10 deer. So you'll click on total deer. And then now there's quite a few more values on here. And you can imagine with temperature, there'll be so many values you won't want to click all through there. So go ahead and condense the filter by values and go to filter by condition. And click on this box right here, and you have a lot of options. Greater than, equal to, less than or equal to, in between, and do what you want. For this example, we're going to say greater than 10. Well, we had real good hunts, saw a lot of deer, a lot of activity. And even just that, assuming once you get all this data in there, you might be able to, there's going to be some stragglers, and you might say, all right, well, all these temperatures seem random. And then you look over and say, oh, what time of year? Maybe when it's still 60, but it's early November to October, they might move a lot. But when it's January and it's 60, you might, there might not be any that show up. There might not even be 60s in January. So obviously when there's more dates, you could filter down by date. And then you just exit out. And you could, if you use your imagination, you could think of tons of examples. So you just go back to filter views, create new view. Once again, everything turns black. And you could say, for instance, let's say I'm keyed in on the first week of November. And you want to get rid of some of those, you could get rid of some of those. And then you would say, well, but the temperature was in the 20s. Where it was really cold in, Anderson County for November. You could do that. You could look at any of these weather patterns. Give you just one more example with the condition. You could say, you could kind of go to the in-between, and you could say 50 and 40. And that's real easy to do. Close that and then hit OK, and it'll filter all that out. And then you could just go from there and filter other things and whatever you want to do. You can start filtering, your stand, your locations, and obviously there'd be much more data and you'd be able to see a lot more. But hopefully that gives a decent explanation. You could add tons of filters. From dew point to precipitation and all kinds of stuff like that. So hopefully that gives you a pretty decent idea of if you use your imagination, I think most people will be able to see why this would be exciting. If you just don't even need that many, but a decent group of guys that want to do it and submit their data. So once again, if there are any questions or concerns, or if I just did a terrible job at explaining this, go ahead and let me know. Send us an email or give us a comment on the website or Facebook. Thanks a lot.